I'm short. I mean, I'm this. Also, just going to tell you right now, this isn't like a deep emotional, I'm not going to tell you about finding the love of my life, because I haven't yet. So, I'm sorry, but if you know something, I'm kidding. No. Hey, what's up? Okay, so, I know that I seem like calm and collected at this moment, but I have debilitating panic attacks, and I found this out on a Delta flight to New Orleans, okay? It was a morning flight. I had to be in New Orleans for a work trip, because I'm cool. And I was placed in the middle row because they didn't pay for a good seat. And so I'm sitting in the middle row. I had gone to sleep. I wake up, and my heart starts racing. And I don't know what exactly is going on, but my temperature is rising, and my thoughts are racing, and I don't know what exactly I'm supposed to do at this moment. So I'm like, okay, I will get a flight attendant who's like the steward of the sky. They will know what to do. So I run and I find a flight attendant, and I quickly say, I'm about to have a panic attack. What do I do? And she looked at me confused, because that's not a question about snacks or where the bathroom is. And she's not really sure how to address this person who's like, oh, it's about to happen in 5, 4, 3, 2. And as I'm saying this at this flight attendant, a man, and I imagine the whole time that he has his hand on a gun. It's on a plane, so probably not, but still, in my head, his hand is on a gun. And he says, ma'am, do we need to land this plane? He is an air marshal, and he is demanding that I decide what we all do. And that makes me get to 1 immediately. So I burst into tears, and I'm crying and screaming, and people are trying not to look at the situation. And then a very nice flight attendant peeks from the back and is like, girl, do you drink? And she pulls out a box in the middle of the aisle, puts it down, puts me on the box, and feeds me wine until I stop scaring the other passengers. And for a while, that was my life strategy. I was like, okay, quiet it, but you can't do that on the way to work every day. So I was living on the edge, knowing it could strike at any moment. And I was going to work in Boston. Boston's fine. Look. You know the job is bad when you're like questioning all your life decisions on the way into work, not just in the bathroom between meetings and at the end when you leave. So it's in the middle of Boston winter. Everyone's wearing the biggest coats imaginable. I imagine you guys have them up here too. And the train stops in between 2 stations. It stops between Porter and Harvard Square. And we're just sitting there. And then, oh, I can feel my heart start racing again. I can feel it. It's happening. And then my body goes from a normal human temperature to approximately 3,000 degrees. So I start peeling off the layers of clothing in the middle of this train. And I've taken some therapy, and so I try to use their therapy tips. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna center myself. I'm gonna see how my feet feel. And I'm thinking about the sensations of my feet. And then I'm thinking about my feet on fire. And then they're like, no, what you have to do is you got to think about a place that you love, Put yourself in that place that you love. So I'm putting myself in my bedroom. I'm imagining my furniture, and I'm imagining my bed and my curtains, and I'm imagining all of that on fire. And I'm taking not all of my clothes off, it's not that kind of story, but I'm like taking most of my clothes off and holding them in a ball in silent crying, that type of crying that makes people worried about women. Do you know what I'm saying? That one where it's like, oh, she's gonna burst. Something bad's gonna happen to this woman. And I'm just sitting there, and this is a very crowded train, but those people found extra room to get away from me. And I'm trying to hold it in, but I'm starting to shake and silent cry and hold all my clothes in a ball when this old woman, she kind of looked like a haunted painting from the 1880s, but whatever. She approaches me, and she's like, would you like to hold my hand? And she extends her arm and puts out her hand, and I stare at her confused because full disclosure, in college, I worked in a psychological research lab. And it's at Duke, and I was there doing a recreation of the Clark doll study. This is the study where they show young black kids a white doll, a medium-toned doll, and a black doll, and ask them which one that they're interested in. And that was actually the basis for Brown v. Board of Education in 1954. Anyway, okay. I was there working on that project, and people who work for an all-white Duke team were like, "We noticed you're black. Can you come help us with a project?" And so I was like, I guess, okay. So I go, and the project is, they had known that holding hands reduced stress. There had been several studies on that, but they wanted to see if the race of the hand affected the stress reduction. So my job for a summer would be, people would go into a room and recount their most traumatic memory while I was hiding. And then when they got to the big part of the story, their worst moment in their memory, a researcher would indicate to me, and I would just slide my hand through a curtain and hold their hand. I had to listen to people talk about crimes, horrible dreams, and I was like, that was kind of weak, okay? But like, at the end of the summer, they determined that, yes, the race of the hand does affect how much calming can happen if someone is in trauma. So at that moment, back on that crowded Boston subway train, I was looking at this woman and thinking, but will it work? But I reached out, and I took that old lady's hand, and I held it, and I did stop crying for a second, and the train started moving again, and eventually we got off the train at the same stop, and we got off, and she's like, can I hug you? And I was like, I mean, I guess. I felt a little weird because I wasn't wearing that much, but I hugged her really tightly, and in my ear she said, "Good luck." And I said, "Thank you," because you can choose where you get help from. You can decide that it's gonna work for you. Okay, thanks.
Kenice Mobley, everybody.